Okay, so France is kind of weird. And I'm not saying like the people of France are weird or anything like that. I'm saying like the country itself is strange in some ways. And I don't mean that to be offensive, so please don't take offense. But as I'm learning about this country, I'm learning all kinds of really interesting facts that I didn't know. And it makes me feel like other people might not know it as well. So enjoy learning today.
It's your boy with the beefy crunch burrito
Zach's
tattoo.
back with another attack.
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town. What the hell's wrong with me? I don't get along with anybody, honestly. I've been living in my own head, constantly thoughts jumbled round, think I need a new lobotomy, wait.
So, to start off, you might think that this is France. But guess what? This is France. Weird, I know, right? Over 20% of France isn't even in Europe. Another misconception is that French people don't get fat. This is especially a misconception about French women. Americans will sometimes act like these French people can eat piles of croissants and red meat and butter and then not get fat. But 47% of the French population in a 3-year survey were overweight or obese, and that obesity grew 76% between 1997 and 2012. And then French clothing designers and stores kind of perpetuate the myth themselves because the average French clothing are made for a woman who's 137 pounds with a 32-inch waist, and 1 in 3 French women say that they have troubles finding clothes that fit them in traditional French stores. So that's kind of rough. Not saying that Americans don't have problems like that, but you know. It's just not something that Americans typically associate with France.
A.
Hamburger.
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 Ham.
Ham.
Burger.
Burger.
I would like to buy a hamburger.
I would like to buy a hamburger.
Another weird thing about France is that they have the Eiffel Tower. And that's not weird in and of itself, but it gets kind of weird when you realize that you can take as many pictures as you want of the Eiffel Tower during the day. But at nighttime, the whole thing lights up, and those lights are actually copyright protected. In 1889, Gustave Eiffel's tower, Mr. Eiffel's tower, opened to the public. Now, French copyright law, like America's, allows the copyright to be held for 70 years after the original artist's death. Mr. Eiffel died in 1923, which means that in 1993, the Eiffel Tower became public domain. This allowed anyone to utilize it in any way they saw fit, whether it's financially profiting off of it or not. However, the lights on the Eiffel Tower weren't actually added until 1985. Therefore, it's technically illegal to take any pictures or videos of the Eiffel Tower lit up under French copyright law. If the tower's lit and you don't have permission or haven't paid to take pictures of it, you're breaking the law. That said, they typically would only go after people who are using it for commercial purposes because it's going to be too hard to go after everybody with a cell phone who just takes a picture not knowing that it's illegal, or even knowing that it's illegal just as a tourist. But since the designer of those lights, Pierre Baudot, hopefully I didn't say that wrong, didn't die until 2021, they're not going to be public domain until 2091. So, it's going to be a while before it's legal to do that. Sorry. And even then, that's assuming that they don't pull a Disney and get France to extend the copyright on it. Next up is Snails. I'm sure you've heard of escargot. And it is true that France is the largest consumer of snails in the world. They eat upwards of 55 million pounds of snails every year, which amounts to 2 out of 3 snails that are eaten globally are being eaten in France. It should be known, however, that these snails being eaten are mostly from tourists and elites. Most French people have honestly never even eaten escargot, let alone regularly. According to publisher The Local, the French see snails as a delicacy more than anything, and most of them will eat the same stuff you do. In fact, they're the second largest consumer of McDonald's, right before America. Now finally, some people consider France to be a socialist country, and that's not entirely true. It does have a social structure for the people, but economically, France is extremely capitalist. There's a French saying, "The heart is on the left, and the wallet on the right." Most enterprises in France are owned by private corporations and people, while the welfare systems are put in place by the government to protect the workers. They ensure benefits to every French citizen. As stated before, McDonald's thrives in France, but they must also provide 5 weeks of paid time off, no more than 6 days weekly worked, and then the government will provide life insurance, disability insurance, healthcare, and parental leave with pay, as well as contributions to pensions. While these are paid for with taxes, citizens can still become greatly wealthy. They can start their own business, they can invest in the French stock market, and much, much more. It really comes down to being, in some ways, similar to America, where corporations are privately run, but we simultaneously have seemingly social constructs, such as K-12 education being free, public transit systems, although those could be greatly improved, food stamp programs, the postal service, roads being constantly updated, and just all those kinds of things that are seen as socialist in other countries, but Americans can kind of take them for granted. So, all in all, France is kind of weird, but kind of awesome. France has these misconceptions that I certainly didn't know about before doing some research. And so I'm curious to know what you guys did or didn't know from this video. Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and like it. And maybe I'll do more on other countries if this is something that you guys are interested in. But in the meantime, I'm Zach. Don't you do crack, and don't you dare take a picture of the Eiffel Tower lit up, because that is illegal, my friend. And prison systems are a little socialist, so come at me, bro. Come at me. I'll catch you in the future. Bye.
Completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round. Welcome to the freak show, the best in town. What the hell's wrong with me? I don't get along with anybody, honestly. I've been living in my own head, constantly thoughts jumbled round. Think I need a new lobotomy. Wait.